How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the 209 Journey podcast. I'm your host, Luis Urbano. And before I introduce our special guest today, I want to ask everyone listening to this episode, if you can, it would mean a lot if you share the podcast with your friends. Let's please help spread the word about it too. And if you know someone who would want to be on the podcast, it has to be someone born in the 209 or someone who moved to the 209, then please send me a message on Facebook or Twitter. You can find the podcast at the 209 Journey on Twitter and also on Facebook. Just search for the 209 Journey and you should be able to find it as well. So let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. So as I mentioned in the previous episode, today we're going to have another guest that's also from Turlock. Today's guest is actually a soccer player who grew up in Turlock. He spent some time playing for Barcelona's academy in Arizona, and then he played a couple of years for Sac Republic's academy, and then furthermore moved on to the first team in 2019 and played with the first team for the 2020 and 2021 season. Just recently, he was actually announced to be signed by DC United, who, for those of you who aren't familiar with soccer, that's actually Major League Soccer's soccer team as well. So pretty big deal for us to have someone who is in the major leagues and who represents us in the 209. And also joining Hayden for the first time ever, I'm actually going to have two guests on this show, is his father, Antonio Sargis, who is actually a big inspiration for Hayden. And he was a big part in Hayden being able to now fulfill his dream of being a professional soccer player in the MLS. So welcome to the 209 Journey podcast, Antonio and Hayden. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Great. Doing well. Thanks for asking.
Glad to hear that. And as I mentioned before, it's the first time that I actually have two people on the show. So it's kind of cool. We're innovating today. And I'm really excited because as you mentioned, Hayden, in the other interview we did for my other podcast, your dad's an inspiration to you. And it's cool to have both of you on here and just to relive all the memories you guys had a couple of years ago that, have led to where you're at now. So cool stuff.
For sure. I wish I could have had my mom on here, but all good. She's busy right now.
So I want to go ahead and get started. As I was reading a little bit about you, I know you may have not been born in the 209 directly, right? But eventually you guys moved to Turlock. So I guess I'll start with your dad too. If you could tell us more about like how that move happened and all that, I'd be curious to know.
Well, I mean, everything started in Turlock. That's where I met my wife and everything. But we ended up moving to Nevada for about 5 years. And both our kids were born in Nevada. And then my job had the opportunity to move back to Cali. So we came back to Turlock, where most of my life has been in Turlock.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad you came back. And, it just speaks volumes of how great the Valley is, right? That like we all move and we want to come back. I know Hayden was telling us how much he already misses the 209, and it's a special place here, and it's good that you guys came back. So Hayden, tell us a little bit more about how it was for you to grow up in Turlock. How old were you when you moved back and all that?
Yeah, I believe I was 2 when I moved back, so I don't really remember. Moving. That whole process. I remember pretty much from elementary school and on. So my experience with Central Valley, even off the field, has always been great. And then obviously playing youth soccer, started off in the Turlock Werq League and then ended up joining a couple clubs and bounced around just a little bit. And I have nothing bad to say about the community of the 209 and how everything is.
So speaking of playing soccer, can you tell us a little bit more about how you kind of got into the sport? Like, what were your beginnings like?
Well, I got into the sport because my uncle and my dad, they both played growing up. And actually, my uncle still plays. So it's pretty cool to see him playing still. And I just joined Turlock Youth Soccer Association, which is a rec league. And I think I would say I played probably I don't know, 2 or 3 years maybe. And after that, I joined a youth competitive soccer club called Turlock FC. And we had a really good young team, which was super. We had a really good young team, which was super cool, and we were winning championships at a young age. I'll say that. So to win super early on, and then I moved to another team within the Turlock district. It was called Turlock FC Vipers, and played there for a couple of years, and then moved into a team called East Valley Earthquakes, and then that's where my dad coached me at all of these teams. After that, I played with. That's when I joined Sac Republic's academy.
Oh well, that's really awesome. I'm glad that you kind of moving between different teams. You got to experience winning a championship, and I mean all that is really great and super motivating, I think, for any player. And now I'll ask a similar question to you, Antonio. Where did you get your passion to play soccer?
Well, like Hayden said, me and my brother were always soccer fans. Growing up, we played soccer a lot and throughout the high school and everything. And so we just follow our passion. And then when I ended up working and having a son, then I decided to start coaching. And that's what I did. I coached him throughout his entire childhood until the Sacramento scattered him out. And I was basically told that to watch him grow more, you need to let him go. And I stopped coaching and I let him go to Sacramento Academy. Then I was just a taxi driver.
Yeah, taxi driver is a really important thing, especially when you got to drive out there too. So, great stuff there. And I'm definitely going to talk about that here later on, because I just find it so inspirational and just so amazing that you guys did the drive out there. But before I get to that, I want to ask both of you, because it's something that I've started to ask guests. What would you say is your favorite restaurant in town, and a place that you like to visit as well? Let's give some free shout outs to some local spots.
I think I'll answer this for both of us. It's got to be my uncle's restaurant, Vito's. So it's in Turlock. My uncle owns it. It's an Italian restaurant. Delicious food. I'd probably give another shout out to Memo's in downtown Turlock. Great Mexican food. You can always depend on them. And then we actually found a new place. I don't know what it's called. It's in Ripon. I don't know if you know what the name is, Dad.
Oh, the restaurant? No, I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I forgot.
I don't know, but
I know which one you're talking about, but I don't.
Good.
What about your pho place?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of pho. So there's a place actually next to my uncle's restaurant. It's called Pho Americano. Big fan of them as well.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll have to check them out. I've been to Jura's once. It is pretty good. And I've been to Memo's once. I actually just went to Memo's actually a couple of weeks ago for the first time, and I was really impressed by how it was.
Memo's is delicious. And probably if I have to, I'll give one more. It's a Syrian place from where my dad's from, Iran. It's called Namino. It's also East Turlock. It's
on Gear Road.
Great kebabs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll have to check it out too. I haven't been there yet too, but I try to just drive around Turlock, go to a lot of good spots, because there's a lot of great food in Turlock, and it always blows my mind. There's better food in Turlock than in my own hometown here, and considering the size. So
you got to check out Vito's for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'll be on my list to check out, because I'm a big pizza guy. So I gotta have some pizza. Well, going back to your career and whatnot, tell us a little bit more about how you got to play for Barcelona's academy in Arizona. I know you were there for a couple of months. Tell us more. How was that like, and how did that come about?
It came about in the summer. In that summer, and I went and played a tournament there, or I was there for a week with the local team here just to get out there and do some training. And after that training stint, they kind of came up to us and said, look, we're interested, and what could we do to get Hayden here? So after figuring out and making that switch from Sacramento to Barca, I had a good time there. It was a good experience, learning experience. I spent time away from my family at a young age, it wasn't super long. So, but I would say I learned a lot from that experience.
That's awesome. I mean, you see the name Barcelona, and it's a pretty big deal, right? I mean,
for sure.
Especially when you were around there too, right? Because they had more of their glory years a couple of years back, and right now they're not doing so good. But I think it's only a matter of time for them to get back to where they used to be at. So,
sure.
Well, speaking of Sacramento too, I really want to know this story. Walk us through how you make it to the academy, and like how did all that get started, and how did you hear about them and whatnot?
I was playing in a tournament with my dad's team, East Valley Earthquakes, and at the time Simon Elliott was the academy coach, so he was out there scouting at a Davis tournament at the Davis Legacy Sports Complex. And at the time I was playing midfield for my dad. So, and I remember Simon telling me that I scored a nice goal. And after that, he kind of just came up to my dad and just told him the situation. Like, oh, we'd like him to come play with the academy.
Oh, we lost him.
I think I think
he's gone. Yeah, that's exactly what he said was true. I'll finish it up till he comes back. He came up after my tournament was over. He introduced himself and he said he's from Sacramento Republic, and they're putting a team together, academy. He would love for Hayden to come out and try out, and that's the end of Dad coaching him, and he went ahead and tried out for the team, and he made the team, and that was the end of it. Nice to have you back, bud.
Yeah, little disconnect.
Well, welcome back. Well, this is news to me. So midfield. So you scored a goal in the midfield. How did you make the transition from midfield to being a defender? What happened there?
It was weird because when I first joined the Republic Academy, I also played in the midfield. I played as a 6, kind of as an 8, and then after my first year, I dropped back to center back, which I enjoy it, and I think at the time it was more of a development for me so that I could see the field more.
So, and when you were in your youth squads, did you also play the same position, or were you also like rotating?
With SAC after that year, I played primarily center back, but with my dad's team and all my youth teams, I played midfield for sure.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an interesting transition. I mean, I know with the midfield, you're kind of going back and forth too, right? But not as much opportunities at goal, right? So it's kind of,
yeah, for sure.
So like you said, Simon invites you to join the academy. What happens next? Like making the arrangements, right, for your first training day, and how was it for you to step in onto the pitch with now a completely different kind of club, different experience? Like what were the differences like for you?
Obviously it was just great to be in part of a professional environment at a youth level. And as far as differences on the field, you can just tell from club to academy right away. The speed of play, the professionalism from on the field and off the field, the coaching staffs, just everything was different. So I was super grateful to get that opportunity.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And onto what I mentioned before, I really wanted to know these stories and whatnot. Well, I mean, during this time, right, you're going to high school and all that. And as we all know, high school is a busy time, and you get out, typically at like 2 or 3 p.m.
Actually,
what time?
Couldn't. He couldn't go to high school. If he played for academy, they don't let you play for high school. And because of the time of training, we had to take him out of high school and do homeschool for him. So he did homeschool for the entire time. I mean, freshman year, he went very little, but after the freshman year, in the middle of it, a couple of months into it, we had to take him out because training was at 4:00, 4:30 sometimes, and we're in Turlock, and that's when the traffic hits. So we had to, make sure that he has enough rest and eats before we head to Sacramento. So we pulled him out, did homeschool for him the entire high school year, all 4 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, because I always wonder that myself. I was like, I know the distance. I know how far it can be. Like, was he doing half day school or what? But yeah, that makes sense.
By sophomore year, I also started to get called up to go to first team training. So it was even better that I was homeschooled, because morning trainings, you're not even able to go to school at that point.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless you ditch, but we don't really, we don't suggest that. Well, that's really interesting. And was that the same like case for like other of your academy teammates, or like maybe the local guys actually went to high school and all that?
I know a situation of some of them. A lot of the boys, they started doing like a charter school where they went half day. And, the school was more lenient with players going on away trips and maybe missing a Friday of school. They would give them a handbook or a booklet for a week's worth of school.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So for all the players that are typically in the academy, I mean, some make it to the first team, as was your case, and unfortunately others don't make it, right? So they end up jumping onto college or even playing for other like semi-pro teams and whatnot. At what point does the team usually tell players like, we're going to promote you, or, at this age, just start looking outside because, we might not be able to give you that opportunity? Do you know all that?
I don't think they necessarily tell you. You just get a feeling, you get a sense, and you kind of just look at your options and look at what option is best for you.
But is there like an age where if you get to that age, like, they have to let you go essentially? Like, is there like an age cutoff that they have?
I mean, once you turn 18, you can't play for the academy anymore. So if you're not getting called up to the first team at that point, then you have to look at your college options.
Oh, okay. For your case, like, were you ever thinking of like plan Bs and all that? Like, if it doesn't work out, I'm probably going to go to this college, or I'm going to like apply to these colleges. Was that ever like an idea that you bounced around, or no?
No, I had my mind set on going pro.
Nice. Yeah. That's good.
He was determined.
Simple answer, but it's the truth. Like, it's just what I wanted, and I went for it. There was no other option.
That's good. No, yeah. I mean, you have to have that mentality going into it, because if you don't, then, it's tough. And I'm sure you probably had a lot of teammates that, they didn't make it and whatnot. But for those teammates that you had that, just didn't make it, like, what did they typically do? Did they typically just like stop playing, or did they just move on to college, or what did you typically see?
There's different pathways for everyone, and the process to reach a professional level is everyone develops at a different time. So you look at players like Eric Centeno, where he gets drafted to Atlanta United, and now he's playing in an MLS team, and he was with the academy, but he didn't sign with the first team. He went and played at University of Pacific for a year, and now he's playing professional soccer. So everyone has their own paths to get to that level, and it's a process, and you just got to respect the grind for it.
Did you guys typically have like college scouts out there at like?
Oh yeah, they're
watching you guys.
All the games, and I mean the showcases between Florida, Texas, San Diego were just flooded with college coaches.
Oh, that's awesome.
So a great opportunity for all the players.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. Yeah.
Those showcases were always the best opportunity for the boys to show their talent and see what the outcome would be. That's where you're gonna try to sell yourself to all these coaches for college or professional teams. So
yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's really awesome that they do that too. And every time I see them do those tournaments, I mean, it's really cool that they involve, especially Sac Republic, against these MLS squads, right? Because I'm sure you had to play against a lot of like MLS academies and whatnot, right?
Sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's really good experience, and good that they still keep doing that. And I mean, we have you as our example, right? That if you make it to the academy with Sac Republic, you can have a shot at joining MLS too, right? And having that, and not just that, right? But like you mentioned, also college scouts. So, plenty of routes for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know we talked about this on the previous pod, but I want to talk more about the experience of actually, making it to the first game, especially having your dad on here. This one goes for your dad. Walk us more about how it was finding out that like your son was going to be in the starting 11, like taking him to that game. If you gave him a ride that day, I don't know if you were taxi.
I'm sure
back
I
in
did.
2020.
I'm sure I did.
How was that like? I mean, what were you guys feeling like knowing that he was going to be in the starting 11 for the first time?
I think that whole day we had everyone in the family had butterflies. We just, so excited. Something that he's worked so hard for, that it was coming to, reality. He's going to actually walk on that field and be on the starting 11. So it was really a dream come true, for all of us, more for him, but it was fantastic. It was the best.
And going into it, you already knew you were in the starting 11, right, Hayden? Like it wasn't like up in there.
No, I knew
that. Yeah, that's awesome. I can only imagine the car drive there and the drive back and whatnot. How did you guys celebrate afterwards too? What did you do on that day?
I don't want to quote myself in the other podcast, but
it was the
I want to say we might have celebrated with an In-N-Out.
Either that or a Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, one of those two. It was something. Obviously, we celebrated the next day as well, but it was just like my dad said, dream come true. Huge moment for myself, for my family, and the start of my career.
Which In-N-Out, the Monte Vista one, or
the one by right by the mall?
And in Sacramento?
Yeah, right by the mall.
Oh, okay.
Nice. You're talking about the one in Turlock?
Yeah, well, I wasn't sure if you guys went to that one. I'm like, I know they're open late. But
yeah. There's been cases that we've gone to that one though.
Yeah, they all get pretty busy, right? But I know that one. That one can get pretty packed, especially at midnight, 1 a.m, just from experience of going there that late.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, it was just really cool to know that you made it there. And I remember when I found out that we had a Turlock guy, I was like, this is awesome, right? Because it's like, you can only imagine that you'll likely be the first of many, right? That'll actually make it there and be with the Republic, and hopefully they start scouting more in this area. And undoubtedly, I think with teams like Academica, which I'm not sure you guys might be familiar with, right? The sport's really growing a lot, right? And I'm sure you guys have noticed just the tremendous growth in like the past. Since Hayden was born, right?
Central Valley's has a lot of talented players, a lot, but it takes a lot more than that to become what he is, because it starts from a family and dedication. It's not just your talent. Like you were going to touch on bases. It took 5 years of driving this kid 6 days a week to Sacramento. And that's games in Sacramento on top of the job that me and my wife had. So it takes the dedication to accomplish from the family side. But the most important is him dedicating all his talent on that field to accomplish what he's did. And it's not easy. I talk in front of a lot of other parents, and they ask, and I said, if you can't dedicate yourself to your kid, because he couldn't drive by himself 6 days a week to Sacramento, don't do it. You can't get yourself 3 months into it and then say, oh, I'm going to give up, because you're not setting a good example either. You just got to go in all the way till the end. And this is what we did until he could drive. And then we give him the key. Drive. Even then we drove him sometimes.
How long were you actually driving, Hayden? Like how many years?
I think a year and a half, maybe. Just when I signed with the first team is when I started driving.
Oh, okay. How was that like for you? 6 days a week, going back and forth? What time were you like leaving, and what time were you like coming back home?
I was probably leaving around 6 o'clock, and I'd be coming home most days around 2:30.
Oh, okay.
Always the first one there, last to leave.
Yeah, that's how it should be, right? That's when you know that someone actually is dedicated to something, right? When they want to be there, right, for a long time. And I feel like when you drive somewhere far, it's like, hey, you got to just take advantage of it, right? Not just leave right away, like just stay there for as long as you can. And especially since Sunday was your day off technically, right? So you had that as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, really, really impressive too. I was just gonna say, I was like, maybe when I was driving back, you were probably driving nearby too, but I never stayed for too long, right? But I mean, I know the drive back at night is it's pretty good, right? As you might know, right? Not too much
Yeah.
traffic, and I mean,
Pretty
lots of
easy.
places. Yeah.
Pretty easy unless there's a construction on 99.
Yeah.
Which is always a construction on 99.
Like they never end, right? It's never ending.
Yeah.
99.
Well, endless in and outs, right? I mean, there's basically an in and out off 99 in like almost every town, and
Exactly.
Yeah.
you had that going on. Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, it's just it's a lot of dedication, right? Like you were saying, Antonio. I mean, I think I mean, I've never heard of stories, certainly, right, of parents being that supportive with a youth soccer player and just helping them accomplish those dreams. So, I mean, you guys keep telling that story. Let's hopefully we get other parents in the area motivated so they they can
I
also
hope
do it
so.
as well. Because I mean, you guys are proof that it can work out, and just make sure that you do that.
Yep. Yep.
So one last thing before I let you guys go, and I'm gonna bring Hayden back to the memories in the 209 and all that, but I'm really curious to hear just more things that you enjoy about the 209, like not just Turlock, right, but just in general as you think about all of our area code and whatnot. Like, what are some places that you really enjoy in the area?
I'd say I enjoy the golf courses. Now that I picked up golf in the off season, I enjoy it. We got a couple nice golf courses. We got a nice one in Ripon, close one. We got one in Ceres, Modesto, a couple in Modesto, but definitely the golf courses. And then, like you said, like the restaurants, we have a lot of variety, and even not too far from the 209, we have good shopping centers. Maybe if you drive a little west.
Yeah, we're at a pretty good spot, like I always say, right? I mean, you got a lot of great places that are nearby too, and certainly it's a good place to live at, and it's a bit cheaper, even though it's still expensive, but that's California for you, right?
Yeah.
It just, yeah, that's how that goes. I like to give all the guests an opportunity to give any last shout outs. If you want to give anyone a shout out, if you want to share your socials where people can follow you and all that, this is your time. So let's start with your dad first, and then we'll go to you, Hayden.
I don't have any. I mean, I do have social media, but I don't need a shout out for myself. But I will put a shout out on my son's own brand, HS brand. He started his own brand. He sells merchandise and everything on that brand, and he works really hard on that to make it a big thing. So, and then obviously my brother's restaurant and every local restaurant in town. I grew up here. I love this town. I love the weather. Yeah, we don't get that much, winter or 4 seasons, but you know what? You learn to adjust and you learn to deal with it. Tahoe's 3 hours away. Monterey, San Francisco is all close by, so we're centrally located. We could always go visit.
Cali's always got the best weather. Let me just tell you that coming from
yeah.
DC
yeah,
United.
That's for sure. We just went and visited him, and it was like 13 degrees. So, you sit back on that plane, you're ready to come back home to warm up a little bit. But it's nice. California is good. Turlock, like I said, has treated me and my family really good. And I've raised 2 beautiful kids with smart, and knock on wood, that's what a parent wants,
Yeah, that's exactly what every parent should want, right? And it's great. How about you, Hayden?
Yeah, just to touch on my own brand a little bit, that I kind of came up with it last year, and I've been quiet about it, but I use it as a platform to kind of give back to the 209 community. So this off season, I gave a bunch of merch out to a local soccer team and a local club. I did a youth camp. So I kind of use it just for a way to give back to my community. And, I have, there's a bunch of cool things on there. I have videos of my trainings, me training kids, giving back to the community. I have a lot of pictures. So if you go on the website, you can subscribe to newsletters and kind of just be updated on me constantly. So it's a cool place for me to be connected with my community and a fan base that is kind of built around me. So wherever I go, I still have that core with me.
That's awesome. Well, hey, I'm really glad to hear that too. I mean, everyone go check out.
Check it out on HaydenSargis.com.
Oh, nice. Hey, and you got your first and last name as a domain. That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I was lucky to get mine a couple years back too, and I'm like, I'm not letting that go because
Nope.
I mean, it's kind of cool, right? To tell people, hey, just go check. I mean, go check my name out. But just
Yep.
Exactly. HaydenSargis.com and a lot of cool stuff.
Nice. Well, hey, that's cool. Keep that going, and it's really awesome to see just people giving back to their community. And I know, when years go by, when you retire, you're probably going to go back and just try to like continue to grow the sport, which by then it's going to be just even more than it already is now. But that's what it takes, right? Is like you make it pro, you do your years as a pro, and then you go back to your community, and you start to train the next generation of pro athletes, right? So really, really excited for you and to see that brand grow as well.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Antonio, for joining us. And again, thank you so much for everything that you did. As a Sac Republic fan, I really appreciate it. As someone from the 209, I really enjoy just people, getting our sport of soccer just growing, and just, again, helping more of our youth soccer players in the area, realize their dreams is really great. And I know Hayden here is going to be serving as an inspiration to just everyone who plays soccer here in the area.
All right. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Luis.
And yeah, thank you, Hayden. Good luck this season with DC United. And, I can't wait to hear all the stories that you're going to have to tell about this season and just on, right? Because we're just going to keep following you on socials and seeing where your career leads you to. Because, I mean, as you said, right, when you started, you had your dream of making a pro. And once you're pro, it's like, man, just keep going as far, right? I mean, cross the pond and just see where we can get to.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
Awesome.
Luis. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Luis.
Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Well, thank you so much again to Antonio and Hayden for being on the podcast today. It's always really cool when you get to interview soccer players. And if any of you don't know, and if it didn't already come across, I am a major soccer fan. I've always been a fan. So knowing that our sport is growing in the area, not just that, right, but seeing players that started playing here in the 209, now making it to the big leagues, to the Major League Soccer, which is the professional soccer league here in the United States. It's amazing. It really goes to highlight just how much the sport has grown. And really, you don't really hear of a lot of professional athletes coming out of our area, and being able to hear about more, I think it's really motivating. And, we have a lot of talent here. And even if you're not from the 209, you might be from like somewhere else, I think it's always inspirational just to hear different stories of how athletes made it professional. And so certainly Hayden's example is one of those that a lot of athletes here in the 209 are going to be just reading about in the future, and just even now, right? Just using that as an inspiration to never give up and always follow your dreams. And, you can get there if you set your mind to it. But as you all heard, it's not an easy path. It does require a lot of support from your family. And, we need more parents like Hayden's, right? That can do all that can really have that complete dedication to supporting their child's sport, right? And so really cool to just hear that story, to hear, I mean, they didn't just do it for a month. They did it for a couple of years of driving back and forth. And as I know myself, being from Modesto, it's a drive to get to Sacramento. And so coming from Turlock, you're looking at more so like about an hour and 45 minutes on average of a drive. So it's out there. But if you're following your dreams, I mean, you'll drive for hours. And that's the one thing that I think everyone should take note if you want to follow your dreams, it's not going to be easy, but after a couple of years, you'll be looking back and just realizing that it was worth it. And this is certainly something that they can now say was worth it. And it's amazing. So if anyone listening wants to follow Hayden Sargis' career this season, again, as I mentioned, he's going to be playing for DC United in the MLS. He's going to be using the number 20 jersey. So check him out on TV. Usually with MLS, there's a couple of different broadcasting channels that pass the games. So just check out your provider to find out what channel it'll be on. But it's going to be really awesome. And definitely one more athlete of the 209 that will be on the lookout for this upcoming season. By the way, if you're interested in hearing more about Hayden's time with Sacramento Republic FC and also about when he found out he'd be joining DC United and how that's been like this past week as he's actually been training with the squad in Southern California, go check out my other podcast that I do. It's called State of the Republic Podcast. It is a soccer podcast that's all about Sac Republic and also about Central Valley soccer. So you'll want to check that one out. There were a lot more things that we talked about as well. I didn't want to have similar content from that one to this one. So you'll notice some things that were mentioned on that one that I didn't mention on here. All that was done purposely too, because we recorded another podcast. And it's actually kind of funny because we recorded that podcast yesterday and today he's on this podcast. So go check that one out. It was a really great interview as well. And, you get to find out a little bit more about, again, his time with Sacramento and with finding out this amazing news that he would be signed by an MLS club with DC United. So go check that out. And hey, if you'd like to subscribe to that one as well, please feel free to do so. Again, that's State of the Republic podcast and anywhere you listen to podcasts. So if you're not following the podcast yet on social media, you can find it at the 209 Journey on Facebook and Twitter. Check it out. Give us a follow. We are going to be doing more than just the podcast pretty soon. I'm going to be doing a live show as well. So if you follow the social media pages, you'll be able to get more details as to when that'll go on and what guests I'll have on there as well. But that is on the radar coming soon. I'm just working out a couple of details on how I'll get that to work, but I'm going to make it happen. And so just one more reason for you to follow the social media pages there as well. Also, if you are not subscribed to the podcast yet, I invite you to do so. Each platform has different options of subscription, but the most typical one, you subscribe and then you get a notification right when the new episode gets posted on the application. So really nifty, really great, because you get to hear the episode right as soon as it's posted, or at least you get that notification so you know when a new episode is dropped. So thank you so much to everyone for listening to the podcast tonight. We'll see you next week here on the 209 Journey podcast. Have a great night, everyone.